Hey guys, kind of wanted to just do a little chill video. What I say? Marvel Snap has been kind of mid this month, and OTAs have been kind of mid. I feel like the last cool one was like the War Machine buff. Like that was just like a really cool buff. Like they reworked the stat line, and like honestly, that's the best change that we've ever had because it messed with it got rid of the Storm interaction with Legion and War Machine, and it made it like fit and make more sense with Electro and curving into Infinite, which I thought was really cool. So, and I remember having campaigned for that for like years and years before the team finally did it. And so I wanted to talk about like what are some other buffs that I would really love to see in Marvel Snap, because I feel like they just kind of leave some of these cards alone because that's not like their priority list of cards that they care about seeing play right then and there. And that can feel kind of like frustrating, especially when you want to like visit an old deck or something like that. So I just want to talk about some cards that I think could use a buff, could use some kind of just like freshening, because they kind of suck right now, or they feel like they could be cool if they got some kind of a nudge. So this whole video is gonna be buffs. We're not going to talk about nerfs, because I don't want to talk about Star-Lord and Shulao and all that stuff. So let's just talk about buffs. Let's be cool. Let's start with Marvel Boy, man. Marvel Boy is a really cool card, but unless you are literally curving Squirrel Girl with it, he kind of sucks because it's really hard to get the 3/1 drops on curve. And when you don't, it's like, what am I doing? Zeus sucks. Thanos doesn't play this. As much as like it literally is a perfect fit for Thanos. They literally play a bunch of 1-drops, but they don't play this because it's not big enough. It's like, what the heck? I want this card to see play. It saw play in an Invisible Woman, but like it was kind of the 12th card, and sometimes it would get cut. And we're in a new day and age now where there's some other cards that got added since Invisible Woman was good. So maybe it doesn't even see play right now in that deck. So I would like this to be a 3/3. And not to mention, like, the only concern deck where we're adding a power in Invisible Woman, like, they don't care as much about that one power added as something like a Thanos or a Zoo deck would, or like whatever Squirrel Girl deck would. So I just feel like a 3/3 Marvel Boy is just like a simple change that I would really enjoy. So yeah. Side note, I'm doing 1 power buffs to start with to make things kind of just simple, right? Let's talk about Lockheed. This card stinks. He's good enough to fit into Shulao decks, but let's just pretend Shulao gets nerfed. This guy is homeless. This guy is a bum. He has nowhere if he isn't getting carried by Shulao just happening to kind of work with all the cards that Shulao runs. So it's like, I don't know, man. Just make him a 2/2. He kind of like, he could use it. I don't think he would hate it. Every time that I run him, he feels like the worst card in the deck, so let's just make him a 2/2 so he isn't as awful, right? He's a super cool card. I love my variants for him. I really want him and Kitty Pryde to be a thing. So, this is more of like maybe don't buff it right now when like Shulao is the target, and like this would obviously go in the Shulao deck if he was good enough to go in the Shulao deck. But like every time that I play a Shulao deck, he is the worst card. So that just kind of goes to show, like, if Shulao gets nerfed, like, dude, what is this guy gonna do? You know, he doesn't see play in Thanos. He doesn't see play in Zoo or Bounce or anything like that. Like, people have tried him. I've talked to people that have tried him, and every time he's just too small as a 2/1. So yeah, let's make him a 2/2, easy buff. All right, let's go to a card that really has needed it for a long time, Caiera. This card sucks. Why is it a 3/4? Like, I'm getting killmongered by people in my Thanos deck or my Zoo deck or whatever, and like, what, I have to play a 3/4 in today's day and age? Come on, man, we can do better than that. What is this? What, this should have been a 3/5 a long time ago. This should have been one of the first 3/5s that they did in all those buffs. Let's buff this to 3/5. I mean, literally, I wouldn't mind it being a 2/3, but I know Glenn Jones has talked about how like he doesn't like that this protects 6 costs as well, and that is a little bit more kind of frustrating in terms of like balancing. So I, you know, if that doesn't work out, let's just at least settle for a 3/5. Okay, can we do that, Glenn? I would really appreciate that. Okay, let's do one last 1 point buff. Let's talk about Jeff. So Jeff has kind of fit into a really weird scenario, because he's since the Nightcrawler buff, Jeff has become kind of obsolete. Like obviously he has the extra text to a little bitty upside, but it's not worth one extra energy that you have to pay. Not to mention that he hasn't really seen play in like a long time, since like Kate Bishop was printed. So over a year ago. And yeah, Jeff has just fallen to the wayside as like once the Premier 2 drop, and now I don't think you ever play him really. I mean, some decks play him, but I don't think that's the right decision to play him, right? And it's like, I mean, we can make him 2/4. It's such a weird card because they have nerfed all the cards that Jeff was good against. They've nerfed Sandman, or I should say reworked Sandman. They've reworked Professor X. Like Clog isn't a thing anymore, so the movement option of Jeff isn't as valuable. They've gotten rid of a lot of these lockdown locations that they have. Storm isn't seeing play. It's just there's so much stuff that like Jeff used to be really good at counteracting, and now it's like, how much lockdown stuff is there really that we care about, you know? So I don't know. 2/4 is like the easy thing, and honestly maybe 2/4s that can move is just really, really good, and maybe that's too much. I could honestly see that. But like, let's do some justice for my boy Jeff. I don't know what else can we do, you know? Nothing can stop this guy from doing something else. I don't know, from having his cost increased and all this stuff. What if like nothing can stop him from doing anything in general, you know? I don't know. Give him something, but 2/4 is probably the easy thing. Yeah, just justice for my boy, man. Okay, let's talk about cards that could get like stat reworks. Not just like 1 point buffs, but like I don't like the cost of them, and I would really like to talk about that. Let's talk about one of the easy ones that should have been done a long time ago. Emperor Hulkling. So this card sucks. And he has sucked, and especially since they buffed Hulk to a 6/14, it's like your Emperor Hulkling can copy a Hulk, and then it's just a worse Hulk, and that's like, that used to already feel bad before Hulk got buffed to a 6/14, and now it's like, wow, what am I doing playing Hulkling in my deck? I don't know, man. He should have been a 5-drop a long time ago, and the devs have talked about this. They mentioned like they didn't want to make him a 5-drop because they wanted him to be like a Hulk, which means that they wanted him to have 10 power at least. You know, because that's like a Hulk identity for a Hulk card. But like, I don't know, man. I don't care. I would rather just have like a cool card that I can just play in my little mid-range decks, and sometimes it pops off and it's some random stuff and it's fun, you know? Because Hulkling still sucks. Like, you know, you can talk all you want about like, oh, I got Arnim Zola one time, but like most of the time he just gets you a Destroyer or a Hulk or an Agatha or something that does nothing, and it's like, that kind of sucks, man. That kind of sucks. So let's make him a 5/8. Let's do it, you know? I just want to see if he would actually be good as a 5/8. I don't even know if he would be good as a 5/8, but like maybe he could, you know? Let's just mess around with it. Who cares? No one cares about this guy needing 10 power. The devs, like, I hate it when the devs, like, think that something needs to follow the flavor, and then they make the card bad, you know? Let's just make the card good, and then we can figure the rest out later. Let's do that. 5/8 Hulkling. Let's talk about another 6-drop that needs to go to a 5-drop. Eson. This guy needs some justice. I mean, literally, we printed Chamber, which was supposed to be like the godsend for Eson and Nick Fury packages, right? And Eson got cut pretty quick from that, you know? So Agamotto has fallen out of play. I don't think he really, I mean, Arishem is kind of mediocre now as well, so it's like, what am I doing with this? Why does this have to have the extra hoop of being a 6 cost? And so it just kind of sucks if I'm not playing this on turn 5, right? because I also have to generate a card in my hand that's expensive, you know? So it's like, why are there 2 hoops through this card when we could just make it 1, you know? Let's just make this a 5-drop. You know, what happens? Is Nick Fury going to run the meta? Are we really worried about that, you know? Let's just make him a 5-drop. I think, like, it's kind of weird because a lot of this hinges more on the end of turn and how many procs you get off of it. But, like, I don't think we're hurting anything by making this a 5-7, 5-6. Like, if we're really scared, you can make it a 5-6. 5-5. I don't care. I just want to see him as a 5-drop and then tinker with the power from there. Because 6-10 ain't cutting it. I don't like 6 drops or 6 cost for this guy. It just doesn't make sense. It's kind of weird because it's like, it's a giant freaking, I don't know, Airsham guy, whatever they're called. Celestial. It's a giant Celestial. So it's kind of weird if he's a 5-drop, but like, it was kind of weird that he was a 6-drop and not some like crazy 7-drop in the first place. So we can go further down, you know? Why not? This card is too cool. Alright, here's another cool card that really needs a rework. Thor. They actually buffed this guy. I was making the ideas for this video before the OTA where they actually buffed Thor from a 3-4 to a 3-5. This card hasn't seen any more play than he did before. Like, I don't know. He just sucks. Like, if I draw the hammer before like my Jane draws it or something, it's a dead draw. That sucks. Come on, man. It's a 3-11, but I lose a draw? And sometimes it's just a 3-5 because I didn't draw the hammer? Come on, man. Let's make this a 2-3. I think as a 2-3, this card is a lot more interesting, and you can actually curve it with Frigga. You know, it was so frustrating for me that in the Asgardian season, the only support for Thor hammers was King Atri. You know, and that wasn't enough back then. So it's been more than a year since the Asgardian season. I just want to see a Thor archetype. You know, that's not just some tech pile because they sat around and twiddled their fingers. You know, and that hasn't even been good in a long time. So what happens if we do 2-3 Thor? It's pretty cool and like bounce maybe. You know, you can Frigga this on curve. I just think that there's some kind of neat stuff that you can do. A lot of the follow-ups for this like are 3-drops, so it's kind of frustrating that Thor is also 3-drop. And like even the hammer decks aren't running Thor right now. They're literally only running Beta Ray Bill. So it's like, come on, man. Let's make this a 2-3, and I think that you can do something with that, you know? And you have more time to draw the hammer, and it curves with King Atri. I just like that. It seems clean to me if it's a 2-3. Okay. Let's talk about like some card package that I want to do. Let's talk about hand generation. That's kind of like with Eson along with it. But I feel like there's a lot of cards that could get buffed in this kind of avenue. White Queen. Buffed from a 3-4 to a 3-5, and she still sucks. What if she, and this is a long time coming, what if she discounted the card that she got from your opponent? And then, like, you know, she's like it's kind of in flavor. Like, she was one step ahead of your opponent, and you can play their card one turn ahead of them, right? I feel like that's kind of neat. And then it's kind of like a little, oh, is this a meta card? Like, you know that your opponent is running this big guy that is actually pretty good when you get him out one turn earlier, even if your deck isn't, like, super suited to that card. So that's like a cool little meta call, right? Not to mention, this is good with Eson or whatever, but when you don't draw Eson, you have a discounted 6-drop, or, you know, discounted heavy card from your opponent at least. Like, that's kind of cool, right? I like that your card is better than their card, and that kind of has a little, you know, storytelling flavor as well, too. So, 3-5, White Queen, that gives a discount, that discounts the card that you get by 1. Let's talk about another card that should discount a card by 1. Agent 13. This card stinks. I have never seen it see play. It never saw play in the beginning of Marvel Snap because it was still bad. What if it just discounted the card that it gave you by 1? That way it's not like total garbage every time. I just think that's a neat little change. That's it. Thanks. Let's do that. Let's talk about Mariah Hill. Another 1-drop that adds cards to your hand in the shield kind of flavor. And this card also sucks even, and like it's just so sad because like I love Wiccan decks. But this card is not enough to justify cutting Quicksilver and just running some 1-drops. Because this card is mid. And there's other decks that like want to fill their curve, and they are mid. And I just feel like there's so many crappy 1-drops that like you can't justify cutting Quicksilver because every other 1-drop sucks. So what if Mariah Hill gave the card that she gave you in your hand +1 power? That way if you get a crappy 2/2 or whatever, at least it's a crappy 2/3 now. If you get a crappy 2/3 in your hand, now it's a crappy 2/4. I don't think that's absurd, and it kind of fits like the vanilla 1/3. So in a sense, she's a 1/3 if you play the 2-drop. And I think that's neat, right? I don't think that's breaking any boundaries. I think that'd be a good change, and then it's kind of similar to like Barrage and stuff, right? I think it's a neat card. I think it would be cool. Devil Dinosaur. This card is so cool. I just love dinosaurs, man. I want Devil Dinosaur to be good, and I feel like he hasn't been good since that one time he saw play in like OG Thanos, and after that he never saw any like serious play that wasn't just like hyper top 10 players that are just like winning with anything. So I feel like this is like a card that every player really likes. People like to play like the shield deck, and they like a big old dinosaur. So I don't know, make it a 5/5, make it a 4, I don't know, 4/2, 4/1. I don't care. Just make it something cool. I want this card to be playable, and it just sucks that it hasn't been playable in super long, while Ronan actually has been playable, you know? It's like, this is a cool card that deserves to be seeing play. Yeah. Okay. Here are the last cards that I want to talk about, and this is like actually a rework that I am really, 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 really hopeful for in the future, because I like, and you could probably hear by how many times I've mentioned these cards, I really like Agamotto and Thanos, and I like these start of game cards, and we can literally look at all the start of game cards. Oh, never mind. How do they say it? Game start. That's what it was. Yeah, let's talk about the game start cards, right? The ones that like do stuff, but they're like dead cards in your hand. Thanos and Agamotto, principally, I just feel like these cards are so frustrating because their main stuff is about drawing the cards that they put in your deck, right? You play Thanos so that you can play the stones. You don't really care about Thanos. Unless you have played all the stones, you don't care about Thanos. And I think that it's just kind of lame that sometimes you draw a 6/12 in your hand and it's a dead card. What if, hear me out, what if Space Stone put Thanos in your hand, but otherwise you couldn't draw Thanos ever? Like, he just removed himself from your deck, he went into the void, and when you played Space Stone, it pulled him from the void into your hand. Same thing for Agamotto. What if you couldn't draw Agamotto naturally, but Temporal Manipulation would take him from the void and into your deck? And you don't have to worry about like deck thinning, because your deck is not thin since you shuffled all these cards into your deck. So that's not like one of the problems. I just feel like that would take a lot of feels bad from these cards. And, Thanos and Agamotto kind of suck. So it would be also nice for them to get that small buff, and it's not like, it's just like it gets rid of the feels bad moments and the polarity of like, okay, I drew my good cards, so my Thanos deck is gonna be good, or I drew my Thanos before I drew my good cards, and so now I have a dead card in my hand. And then same thing with Agamotto. Like, you hate when you draw Agamotto, and then later get Temporal Manipulation, then your Temporal Manipulation is like way worse. So I feel like this would be a nice change for those two cards, that wouldn't go overboard. And it would just make people get a lot less frustrated when playing the deck, because I know I myself get really frustrated when I just have these crappy hands, and then of course I top deck Thanos or I top deck Agamotto, and I'm like, what am I doing? I wish there was kind of something we could do similar for High Evolutionary and Erisham and Shang-Chi and Dormammu, but you kind of can't, since they don't really have cards that put them into your hand, or like they don't shuffle cards into your deck like Evolutionary. But like I would love if, like, I don't know, let's make Shocker actually. Let's just rework Shocker so that he does something with High Evolutionary, so High Evolutionary kind of feels cool. You know what I mean? Not just like a vanilla 4/7 in your deck that you have to run to make the rest of the cards work. I think that would be neat. You know. Maybe not Airsham. I don't know if you want to do anything with Airsham, but it would be nice if he wasn't just a crappy 7/7. That's just a dead card in your hand sometimes, and sometimes you don't draw him, and it's like, wow, that's a big difference. But yeah, that's all I got. The biggest ones that I really want are the Thanos and the Agamotto change, but like I would love to see the Hulkling change. I would love to see the Eson change, the Thor change. There's a lot of buffs that I really want to see in this game. There's a lot of buffs that I didn't talk about in this video, and I'm kind of hoping, if people like this, that I could make a little mini series, maybe not for a ton of videos, but just like talking about some other cards that need to be buffed. I think that would be pretty fun. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. So appreciate you guys listening in. Really hopeful that the rest of our OTAs for the rest of the time will kind of listen to this stuff and get some ideas. So thanks for listening, and have a good one. Peace.